And we're on chapter 15, Holy Mother and Girish Chandra Ghosh. And of course, if you've Girish Chandra Ghosh, he's my favorite. He's like the easy the he's like the welcoming mat of Vedanta to me, because I think almost everybody will find a wonderful connection with him because, well, one, he was an artist. He was a writer and a famous writer in Indian literature, and he lived in Calcutta and had a very bohemian life, which is code word for meaning he was a good old sinner. And enjoyed drinking and enjoyed his life. And he had a very unique relationship with Sri Ramakrishna and with Holy Mother. He had a very deep devotion. And as you know, when quite a few times when he got drunk, he would go to the master and go to see Ramakrishna. And there's something about that that's a beautiful lesson that I know I've talked about it before, but I think it's very important for us, for those of us who have that, who have challenges with desire, which I think is all of us, but those still caught to some degree in the world. He's a beautiful icon because he really brings out of the master the truth of our situation, which is that whatever situation we're in, no matter how desperate it might seem to us as the experiencer, like Girish was broken quite a few times over his alcoholism, and he would go to the master and beg for mercy, and the master was always so kind to him, was always so accepting of him, never threw him out, even though whenever he would show up and, he'd be abusive sometimes to the master in front of everybody because he was drunk off his butt. And the master, the one time the devotees were kind of urging the master to kick him out, get rid of him. How dare you let him treat you like that and in front of everybody? And there's nothing good about him. Kick him out. And the master scolded them, told him to be quiet because he says, you just can't see. You don't have the eyes to see what I see. And, of course, Girish became a saint, and we're going to read about him with the Holy Mother tonight. And so you'll see how the beloved really feels about you, regardless of your condition, regardless of what you're struggling with. And that has been more beautiful and more important to me than many of the things that I've read, certainly more than any of the philosophy, and gave me so much courage in the beginning when I was well aware that I had found myself into a world and life that I didn't belong in. I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Because when I joined the monastery, it was in response to the love that I was shown by Moksha Prana and by the other four saints, or not saints, well, in my mind they're saints, but the other four sadhus that I met that inspired me to join the monastery, only because they were monks, because how deeply they had touched me, and because of how beautiful they had become over the course of their life. And I just recognized that all of them were dressed in ochre. All of them were monks. And it didn't matter to me what the requirements were. I had no idea what a monk was or really to what I was getting into. I just knew what it had done to them and what they had become of it. And so I wandered into this monasticism from that perspective, really knowing nothing much of Thakur, nothing much of Ma or Swamiji, or even anything of God. And it was it's been, for the first probably 10 years, it was a constant surprise of what I had actually done, like, oh my God, what have I done? The ideal, incredible. And I remember, during the sannyas ceremony, going through those mantras that lay out the ideal of the sannyasin, it was very difficult it was very difficult to sit and go through that, just seeing how it was like talking about walking to the moon. You know, the moon was beautiful and full and wonderful, and to gaze at it, I could get lost in it. But then I would wake up and realize I'm here. I'm, you know, I'm on this planet, and now I've got to walk to the moon, and it just seemed overwhelming. But these stories from Girish Ghosh, when I found him, were wonderful and comforting, and I think are a big part of how I overcame that discouragement and found a reason to keep going, because even Girish becomes a beautiful saint by the end, despite his alcoholism, you know, despite him telling the master that he couldn't do anything for spiritual practice. That, you know, even Thakur was like, just say my name in the morning and the evening, and Girish was like, I can't even do that. You know, it was just amazing. And then Thakur just told him, okay, don't worry, give me your power of attorney, you know, which means don't you make any decision in your life without talking to me about it, you know, whether directly or whether just in your mind. And Girish fell for it. He in the end kind of says, I was sort of tricked into it. I had no idea what that agreement really meant. But through that agreement of constantly thinking of God, he found his freedom, just through love, you know, just through love. So our beginning chant on this one, it translates, nowhere exists in all the world another sinner equal to me. Nowhere a power like yourself for overcoming sinfulness, O goddess. Keeping this in mind, do thou with me as it pleases thee. During Ramakrishna's lifetime, the great Bengali playwright Girish Chandra Ghosh publicly declared him to be an avatar. As for Holy Mother, Girish also held her in high esteem as the wife of his guru and cherished great respect for her. One day, Girish was pacing back and forth on the roof of his house with his wife, Pramodini, when Holy Mother was on the roof of Balaram's house nearby. Girish's wife noticed her and said to him, look, there is Mother walking on the roof. Girish at once turned his face away and replied, no, my eyes are sinful. I will not look at her that way. I cannot be a sneak. And immediately he went downstairs. This amazing and amusing, but this amazing dedication and respect, you know, that he would not look at Mother because she wasn't aware that he was looking at her. He would not sneak and do anything without her consent, without her knowledge. And you just see that level, that he wouldn't even look at her without permission from her, because of his respect for her. And it's that kind of integrity, you know, that we need in our practice and in our life. This is that strength of character that we need to build using that divine grace, that divine love as our mortar between our bricks of effort, our bricks of offering, you know, that we give to God. It is said that the exceptional good fortune of his second wife, Sharat Kumari, brought Girish fame, wealth, and the grace of the master. Girish and she had 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. When his son was born, almost 2 years after the master's passing, Sharat Kumari became very ill. Girish arranged for her treatment, which continued for a year, and nonetheless, she died on the 26th of December, 1888. Grief-stricken, Girish tried to occupy himself by studying mathematics and by caring for his little son. Girish had once asked the master to be born as his son. So he believed that this boy was Ramakrishna reincarnated. He served the boy wholeheartedly. Girish bought new clothes, cups, glasses, and plates for him. He did not allow anyone else to use those things. You know, he had in one of his drunken stupors gone to the master and demanded a boon that the master must be born in his house as his child, so that he could personally serve him and nurture him and take care of him. And you know, it's a common accepted story that this young man was, because it was shortly after Ramakrishna passed away that he was born, that he was that reincarnation. He only lived for a short time, and then went away. And you just think of the grace in that, you know, that even Thakur Sri Ramakrishna was willing to fulfill that level of personal desire for devotion, willing to step in there at that level and to be a part of his devotee's life in a way that for sure lasted forever in Girish's heart. His first meeting with Holy Mother. In September of 1890, Holy Mother was staying at Surendra Thakur's house in Baranagar. Girish was still grieving for his wife, and Swami Niranjanananda knew this. He insisted that Girish visit the Holy Mother. Girish paid his first visit to the Holy Mother at Baranagar with his 3-year-old son. The little boy could not speak and expressed himself through sounds and gestures. As they entered the house, the little boy, who had seen Holy Mother before, anxiously pointed to the upper floor where Holy Mother lived and called out, "Ooh, ooh." Holy Mother's attendants took him upstairs, and he rolled on the ground before her. Presently he came down and began to pull at his father's hand. Girish burst out crying and said, "How can I go to the mother? I am a great sinner." But the boy would not leave him alone. Finally, he took his son in his arms, and he climbed the stairs, his body trembling, tears flowing from his eyes. He put the boy down and then fell flat at Holy Mother's feet and said, "It is through my son that I have seen your sacred feet." Holy Mother always took the boy on her lap whenever she saw him. Unfortunately, the boy died not long afterward. Girish's faith in Holy Mother. In his early life, Girish had used alcohol in an attempt to relieve the grief he felt at the death of his first wife. Now he was determined to use divine intoxication to relieve the anguish of losing his second wife and his youngest son. Kumutbandhu Sen wrote in his reminiscences, "Whenever Girish Ghosh referred to Sri Ramakrishna and the Holy Mother, his manner of expression was extraordinarily superb and different from that of other devotees. His deep reverence for and strong faith in their divinity and unbounded grace were expressed in his utterances, and he inspired those who heard him. Once Girish told me that at first he and other lay devotees of Sri Ramakrishna did not recognize the greatness of the Holy Mother. Girish said, "We used to pay our respectful tribute to her as the spiritual consort of our master. We looked upon him alone as our guide, our friend, our father and mother, all combined. It was Niranjan, later Swami Niranjanananda, who opened my eyes. In the midst of the grim tragedies of life, stricken with grief and with sorrow, I felt for a time quite perplexed and could not console my disturbed mind. During my sad bereavement, Niranjan often came to me and tried to divert my mind with spiritual talk. One day I told him, 'Brother Niranjan, it is a pity that I cannot now see Sri Ramakrishna, who is my shelter and my only refuge.' Niranjan interrupted me, saying, 'What mother is here? Is there any difference between master and mother? Can you imagine Narayana without Lakshmi, Shiva without Parvati, Rama without Sita, and Krishna without Radha or Rukmini. I was taken aback. I told him, "What do you say? The master and the mother are one and the same." Niranjan replied, "Well, you believe that Sri Ramakrishna was an avatar, God incarnate in human form. Do you mean to say that he took an ordinary woman as his spiritual partner in this divine life? You must remember the words of our master. Brahman and Shakti are one and the same, though in manifestation they appear to us as two. Mother is Shakti, the Shakti of Purna Brahma, Ramakrishna." But we see that even not just on the devotional plane, as it were, that Thakur and Ma are one and the same, but that they are a manifestation of the power of God and the substrate of the divine, the absolute unchanging, which has no name. This male and female. It's funny. I was talking again, like with this art woman today, about this notion of these two being one. That you've got fire and its power to burn. They both are one and the same, but can be perceived as two. Why? Because the fire you see with your eyes and the warmth you see with your hands, right? And so it seems to be two things, and yet they cannot be separated. You cannot separate fire from its heat. Milk and its whiteness was another one that Thakur talked about. You can see milk or taste milk. It's tasted through one sense and then perceived through a second sense. And it seems as two separate qualities or separate things, but they cannot be separated. If you understand that all of your senses are listening, in that sense, that you listen with your eyes when you look at something, you listen with your ears when you hear something, you listen to a form when you touch it. If you give the same word to talk about all the senses, you realize that all of them really are one sense. They're a sense of reception, a sense of receptivity, a sense of feeling, that they are one thing, and that their separation is more akin probably to the difference in the instrument of perception. That's what makes them different. You watch a concert, you see the movement of the violinist, and that's coming through one sense, and yet the same can be inferred from hearing the violinist. The sound will match the movement. And so are they different? Is the sound different from the movement? And we come to understand through spiritual eyes that all of this is like that this entire universe is divided by the senses and not by its essence or its nature. And so we see this in the divine manifestation of Mother and Sri Ramakrishna, and the fact that the incarnation always comes as male and female, because they are the same manifestation. If one manifests, the other one must manifest. They must be there. So quite a lovely talk here by Niranjan. His words cleared my vision, and I at once recognized the Divine Mother, the Mother of the universe, incarnated as Holy Mother for the salvation of mankind. I felt a strong urge to go to Jairambati and to see our Holy Mother, who alone could wipe away my tears and remove my sorrow over my recent adversities. That's a true statement right there, and one of great comfort and instruction, that it's only the divine that can remove our suffering. It's only the divine that can give us that kind of sense of grace, that kind of sense of reassurance, that can point to our divine nature with a pointing finger of pure love. That alone is able to give us that kind of faith, that kind of strength inside. And so understand that, what Girish is saying here, that he tried to console himself after the death of his first wife through the gifts of the senses, through drunkenness, through escape. And that if you understand that, if you look closely at that, you see that that's all this world can give you. The world of the senses can only give you escape, distraction. You can go drink and get a few minutes of peace. You can, go traveling to Rome and get a few moments of distraction. But the problem is that in this world, every one of your solaces will have an end. And when that end comes, you'll be alone with the thing you were trying to escape or trying to be distracted from. So the world's only solution to all of your problems is distraction. But through the divine, we find actual healing, actual change, actual transformation, because the divine comes from the deepest sense of you. It comes from the purity of you, the image of the divine that is in you. And that going there as your only refuge, that produces that harmony, that brings back this duality that you've created within into a unity, into a oneness that allows you to then to experience this world as love, allows you to experience this world as divine, allows you to have eyes to see that Jesus always requested every time. And I bring this up again and again because it's so beautiful to me that every time he gave a teaching, he said, he who has ears to hear, let him hear. Who has eyes to see, let him see. And those eyes are our inner awareness, the awareness of awareness. And Jesus was saying, use those eyes to see. Stop stepping into your senses. You remember that was the problem of Adam and Eve. Eve stepped into her senses and saw that the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil was beautiful. And seeing that beauty and focusing on that beauty, it created a desire to own it, to grab it, to take from the world. And so she took. And then as she had taken it and held it, she looked at it and beheld and said, oh, it looks like it was good for food. It will make me one with God. It will satisfy me, So that's that 3-step process that we have to watch out for through awareness. In every moment, we're stepping out of the Garden of Eden. We're stepping out of the inner paradise. We're being drawn into our senses and seeing the beauty of the divine manifested, but not understanding that it's the divine manifested, the divine self within us, manifested through the senses. We think there's something there that will be good, that will be good for food, that will be good to take. And then in that belief of it taking, the reason for taking it is because we're trying to find fulfillment. We're trying to make ourselves whole. We're trying to make ourselves happy, to have our divine bliss. And it gives us something for a short while, but that's why the curse of that garden was you'll have to till at the earth for the days of your life to fulfill your desires. And it's a harsh realization that we go to work 6, 8, 10, 12 hours a day for exactly that. And as long as we're caught in that cycle of stepping in the senses, finding it beautiful, and desiring our answer of life through them, we then experience this curse, and we lose paradise, our inner freedom, our inner grace. And so he's seeing this, He says, he did not like the idea that I should here. So I felt a strong urge to go to Jairambati to see our Holy Mother, who alone could wipe away my tears and remove my sorrow over my recent adversities. Niranjan approved of my suggestion and offered to accompany me there, but Balaram Basu vehemently opposed this proposal, as he did not like the idea that I should disturb Holy Mother with my worldly problems and my miseries. At that time, Swami Vivekananda was away from Calcutta, and the matter was referred to him by Niranjan. Getting his approval, we started for Jairambati. This is the nature of devotees. Devotees love to be gatekeepers to the things that they love. It's the ego of self that makes us think, because of the infinite nature of the love of the divine. In the individual devotee, it's easy for the ego to believe that I'm the favorite, that I know what is best, and we tend to correct each other from that space. We tend to give advice from this space, and it's a great mistake. because the ego will never tell you of love. And if you run your life by that sense of self that's separate from your divinity, that sense of self that lives in your mind and not in the heart, your advice is always going to be nonsense, just nonsense. And you'll wound somebody. Look at this. Here Girish Ghosh is going to Mother for solace. And what does the Divine Mother say? Seek refuge only in me. So how dare, this other devotee, Balaram here, forbid him from having access, for going to the divine? This is not the way. You always have access. And so from Swami Vivekananda, that great sage, tells them, no, you go to the mother. Absolutely, you go to the mother. And so they set out. I could hardly express my joy when I first went to Karmarpakur. To me, the cottage where Sri Ramakrishna was born was like a rishi's holy hermitage. The scenery and its surrounding environment were enchanting. Thence we proceeded to Jairambati. There, during my stay, I directly asked the mother, well, mother, are you my real mother or an adopted mother? The mother said, yes, I am your real mother. Further, Girish Ghosh told us in forceful language, pregnant with deep emotion, yes, mother, the divine mother, has appeared as a poor village girl, living in a remote hamlet away from the din and bustle of a town where life reflects only the formal and artificial ways of worldly wise and sophisticated men and women. I did not ask for anything from mother. As soon as I went to her, all my sorrow and all my misery vanished completely, and I felt a supreme serenity of mind which I had never experienced before. Oh, those days were spent in heavenly bliss and joy. And that is for you to experience. That's for you to find out. Your Vedanta, your spiritual life, your religion isn't about its answers of faith and belief and philosophy. It's a set of tools for you to find out. To find out what? To find out this. That immense bliss, that inner peace, that inner strength that comes from the divine. God was never meant to be reduced to a faith or to a belief or to a system of thinking. God was never meant to be lost in an institution or in something outside of yourself. God has always been meant to be the working solution of your life that will manifest to you that divine inner peace, that which you are seeking everywhere else. One day at the mother's place at Jarambati, a minstrel, Haridas Vairagi of Deshra, came and sang a Bengali song to the accompaniment of a broken violin. A free English rendering of the song is given below. O Uma, my darling, what good tidings I hear. People say you are adored in Varanasi as Annapurna. Is it true? O Gauri, when I married you to Shiva, he went as a beggar from door to door for a morsel of food. But today, how glad I am to hear you are now queen of the world, seated by his side. And they called my naked Shiva a madman. How much abuse I had to bear from everyone. Now I hear that doorkeepers guard his palace, and gods like Indra, Chandra, and Yama hardly can see him. Shiva used to live in the Himalayas. Many a day he got his food by begging. Now he rules over Varanasi and is as rich as Kuvera. Is it you who have brought him all this good fortune? No doubt he is very rich now, else why should Gauri be so proud? She does not cast her eyes even upon her own children and turns her face away from Radhika. So you just really see how that song actually mirrored Girish's experience, not knowing, thinking that that Holy Mother was just, the wife of the Guru. And so, yeah, we respect her. there were no power there for them. And then when those who recognized that she was the divine consort of the incarnation, an incarnation of herself, that she was part of a singular incarnation, that God always manifests as the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And every time you see one, you've got to look until you see the other. And this actually is the secret to a healthy and blessed marriage. To know that you can never have male and female without the divine wholeness there, and for you to make it your effort to see the presence of the divine incarnation, that divine image of God, which is in your partner, your husband or your wife, or as whatever you call yourselves, just to recognize and to see that, and trust that oneness. Take your desires, the two desires, and make them one desire, through compromise, a compromise based in that love and that offering of your ego to the oneness, to take the caring for each other and build oneness. When Jesus prayed in the garden before he was crucified the next morning, his final prayer was that we would all be tied into a unity with God, and that love would be the cord that binds us to that oneness. And so, Sri Ramakrishna, fascinatingly, was both a sannyasin and a householder simultaneously, because he was high enough in his spiritual understanding and knowledge to see the oneness of all things. There are not more than one. And so to know that the thing that makes that true is a pure and perfect love that draws everything into itself. And in Thakur Ma, we are being drawn into that unity, and we will find that cord of love that will bind us all together, as it already has here. It's begun its pull. We've begun our union as we slowly walk together, forward here. When the minstrel finished singing the song, Girish Ghosh, Swami Niranjananda, and others who heard it could not restrain their tears. The mother too shed tears, as did all her women companions. The song reminded them of Holy Mother's early life, when Sri Ramakrishna was often referred to as the mad son-in-law by the people of Jairambati, when her own parents repented giving her in marriage to Sri Ramakrishna, and her neighbors pitied her and expressed sorrow at her miserable fate. She did not, and she did not and could not. Let me set up the mute here. All right, there we go. She did not and could not then protest, and she humbly suffered all of those humiliating remarks in silence, though she knew in her innermost heart that her husband was a God-intoxicated man, far above ordinary people. She tasted divine bliss whenever she came into contact with her husband. She did not go to anybody's house or attend social functions in Jairambati, lest people make humiliating remarks about her husband and to blame her for her ill luck. Now that Sri Ramakrishna is revered as a prophet and an avatar, and is worshipped in many places, people come to her for her darshan, even in that village, which is situated in an out-of-the-way place. The Holy Mother is now regarded by many devotees as the Mother of the universe. The song drew tears from the eyes of the listeners, as it aptly applied to and conjured up a vision of the early life of Sri Ramakrishna and Sri Sarada Mani. I heard from Girish Ghosh that for over an hour all remained spellbound, their eyes glistened with tears. But those happy days came to an end, and Holy Mother used to travel back and forth between her Calcutta and Jairambati residences. One day we heard that Mother was leaving for Jairambati after Kali Puja in 1896. On the day of her departure, Girish Ghosh came to bid her farewell. He did not utter a word, and with a serious countenance he called for Yogananda and went directly to the mother, who was then living at Sarkarbari Lane. We all followed him. Full of emotion and a deep reverence, he prostrated at the feet of the Holy Mother and with folded hands said, "Mother, when I come to you, Mother, when I come to you, I feel that I am a little child coming to its own mother. Had I been a grown-up son, I would have served my mother, but it is quite the opposite. You serve us, and we do not serve you. You are going to Jairambati to serve the people, even by cooking food for others in that village kitchen. How can I serve you? And what do I know about the service of the Divine Mother?" Girish's voice was choked, and his whole face was red with emotion. He said, "Mother, you know our minds, which we ourselves do not know. We cannot go to you. It is through your grace, it is through your kindness that you come here to see your children. Whenever you wish to come here, please do not hesitate for a moment. We, your children, will always be happy to see our mother and shall deem it a privilege to render you whatever service you will graciously allow us to offer." Girish then addressed us who were standing behind him. "It is difficult for human beings to believe that God may incarnate in a human form like any of us. Do you realize that you are standing before the Mother of the universe in the form of a village woman? Can you imagine the Divine Mother doing all kinds of domestic work and fulfilling social duties like an ordinary woman? And yet, she is the Mother of the universe, Mahamaya, Mahashakti, appearing on earth for the salvation of all creatures, and at the same time exemplifying the ideal of true motherhood." So you see this intense, oh my God, this intense devotion. And it's it's not through the works of seeing mother, he knows, he just lays out our problem. There's no way we can do this. We can't even believe in this. We can't even open our hearts to that. But then does that matter? He says, because he says, we cannot go to you. It is through your grace and through just the kindness of this divine love, of this unconditioned love, that you come here to see us. We don't even get to go there because we don't believe, we can't understand, we can't imagine. And yet that is not the point of our spiritual life. The point of our spiritual life is to accept the grace and the gift of the divine coming here, coming to meet us, bringing us into that oneness, into that unity. His words made a deep impression on all present. The whole atmosphere was changed with a serene sublimity and calmness. Yes, it was then a veritable paradise, pervaded with spiritual bliss and benediction. We accompanied the mother to the railway station. She blessed us all as we touched her feet in salutation. Swami Bodhananda left a vivid account of Girish's visit to Jairambati in the early part of 1891, which is presented here in an abridged form. Our party consisted of Swami Niranjanananda, Swami Subodhananda, Girish, Kanai, later Swami Nirbayananda, Kali Krishna, later Swami Virajananda, and myself. If you doubt the power of this, look at the fact that everybody that went became monks. What does that mean? They threw everything else that they were chasing in their life away for this one truth, the presence of the Divine Mother, the reality of her coming here to visit us as her children, and that she appears to us through her own grace, not through our own anything, but through her love and through her commitment to each one of us. So we read all these people who later renounce and give their life solely because of this experience, solely because they were brought into the presence of the Mother in a realization, an understanding of what was going on, the manifestation of the Mother of the universe. Girish also took a cook and a servant with him. After breakfast at Girish's house, we left for the Howrah railway station and reached the Burdwan station at noon. We had our lunch there and brought luchis, fried potatoes, halwa, and sweets for our supper and some special sweets to offer to the master in Kamarpakur. 5 bullock carts were hired and we started our journey just before evening. We crossed the Damodar River, which was almost dry. After crossing the river by bullock cart, we finished our supper. At 10 p.m., we resumed our journey. But shortly after, the jerking motion of the cart upset Girish's stomach. We were then in the middle of a vast meadow. Swami Chetanananda stopped all the carts and asked the driver to unfasten the bullocks from the carts. Within an hour, Girish fell asleep, and in the morning, he felt normal. We resumed our journey and reached Uchalan, 16 miles from Burdwan, at 10 a.m. We went to an inn and had lunch. After resting, we had tea. We again bought luchis and fried potatoes and halwa for supper. The drivers drove the whole night, covering 14 miles from Uchalan to Kamarpakur. We arrived there at 9 a.m. and met Brother Ramlal and Sister Lakshmi, the master's nephew and niece. We took a bath in the Haldarpakar and Prasad of Raghuvir and spent the night at Kamarpakur. So the Haldarpakar was just that local water tank there, and had Prasad of Raghuvir, which was the family deity of Ramakrishna's family, and spent the night in Kamarpakur. And the next morning we left for Jairamati, which is 4 miles from Kamarpakur. Girish went by Palanquin, and the rest of us walked along the mud road. We arrived in Jairamati at 11 a.m. Girish took a bath in the Talpukar and went to visit Holy Mother wearing his wet cloth and carrying a mango in his hand. He fell flat on the courtyard and bowed to the Mother. This scene is still vivid in my memory. That's the best way to go to the divine, to be wet with, Ganga water, to be wet with the water, and to stay wet is, just that constant reminder of that's why you're there. It's by the grace of Mother. That wet water of that bath is that reminder for us, that being in the presence is because of the Mother's grace and not because of what we have to offer. We make our offering, we bring our mango, but we stand there like a wet rat, with our clothing on us, and we offer our mango. And just that image shows, the pathetic nature of our offering, made beautiful only by the Mother's love for us. I remember when I was a kid one time, I found out that if you peeled the stems of a dandelion and you put it in water, that those stems curl up real tight into little curls. And I remember I made a whole bunch of them and I put them on a Frisbee and offered them to my mom. And, just, it was a silly thing. And I just remember how my mother took those, and she put water in that Frisbee and just set it there in the center of the table. And, it was nothing. It was a silly, stupid thing. And yet, your mother will take your wretched little piece of art and hang it on the fridge for everyone to see. Put your flowers in the center of the table for everyone to appreciate. That it's the Mother's love in us that produces beauty. It's the Mother's love in us that makes our offering beautiful. And it's the mother's pride in our effort in response to that love that picks us up and gives us what we're seeking. I had a great opportunity to associate closely with Girish and Jairambati. We stayed in the same room. We ate together and walked together and talked freely. When he was in the mood, he would sing some devotional songs in praise of the Divine Mother. Because of the many guests in Jairambati, Holy Mother was extremely busy from morning until 11 p.m., taking care of our food, taking care of our sleeping arrangements, and so on. Although Girish's cook and servant worked, the mother had to supervise everything. It was not easy to get milk early in the morning in Jairambati, but the mother would go to the villagers and collect some milk so that we could have tea. We had breakfast with puffed rice, sandesh, and tea. And then after a bath, we had some prasad. Mother served lunch with 8 or 9 kinds of preparations, as well as curd and sweets. In the afternoon, we had tea and snacks, and at supper, luchi, rice, vegetables, and sweets. Girish would listen to the dialect of the illiterate farmers and imitate their language. He considered hiring a farmer and bringing him to Calcutta to act in one of his plays. After staying for 2 weeks in Jairambati, everyone returned to Calcutta except for Swami Chetanananda and Girish. The mother looked after us as her own children. I still remember that I rolled chapatis a few times and the mother baked them. It was her grace that I could be near her. Those are unforgettable memories. Swami Chetanananda, the author of Holy Mother, supplied some more information about Girish and the Holy Mother. After arriving at Jairambati, Girish took his bath and bowed down to Holy Mother. His body was shaking with emotion. Casting his eyes upon her, he exclaimed with surprise, "Ah, you are the mother, that mother." He suddenly recalled a vivid dream of many years before, when he had been bedridden from cholera. A luminous goddess wearing a red-bordered sari appeared to him and offered him some sacred prasad, which soon cured him. He now recognized Holy Mother as that deity and felt that she had always been looking after him as his guardian angel. To verify this, Girish asked her, "What kind of mother are you?" Immediately, Holy Mother replied, "Your real mother. Not just the wife of your guru, not a foster mother, not a vague sort of mother. Your real mother." It's the notion that mother is the ideal of motherhood. And every person manifesting as a mother is a subset of that one ideal of the Divine Mother. And so we all look through anyone who is a mother. We look through them at the ideal and see in them the Divine Mother herself. But that we, as devotees, have that direct relationship. That anyone, any spiritual person following an ideal, keeping their eyes on the ideal, looking at the divine. Holy Mother is what they're looking at. Holy Mother is what they're seeing. Even in Thakur. And why Thakur? Because he was the avatar. The avatar needs Maya to manifest. That Maya, Mother, the Divine Mother, is in charge of. This is why Ramakrishna said, you can anger me all you want, but if you disturb that one, not even I can save you. That even the unmanifest absolute, can only manifest through Divine Mother. So she is our real mother. She is our source of existence, our source of love, our source of understanding, our source of growth. She's the source of that cord of unconditioned love that will bring us back to our oneness, that will bring us back to our freedom. All right. That is the story of your mother.